What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Super happy to have you here. And we have a really special guest with us today that I can't wait to introduce. She is a high-performance coach who empowers entrepreneurs to level up in their life and in their business. And she impacts others and helps her clients to embrace life where they are now, and then not only aim higher, but also achieve their highest goals, which is really super important. So please welcome to the show, Justine Matter.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Hey, Justine,
Absolutely.
thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. We are so excited to have you. And we want to jump in and get to know a little bit more about where this came from the coaching perspective. So when did you start coaching?
That's such a great question, Nathan. Thank you for asking. So coaching for me was not something that I actually intended to do. I'm a very young budding entrepreneur, and with that comes, blessings and opinions for sure. And so when you say you're a young coach, people are like, you work with life and business clients and you're, under 30. Okay, good luck. At the same time, we in my generation have such a different outlook on life and business, and we're able to come at it from such a different angle. It just depends on your client. And so for the people that are out there that are young, it's one of those things that I've discovered. You just have to find your tribe. It's not, age is just a number. Your experience is totally unique to you and something that you should be totally unapologetic about. And that's something that's totally spurred me into this field. I started off as more of a collaborator, a virtual assistant, and even backtrack a little further, I joined a virtual team because I was like, what does entrepreneur mean? I was that bad, guys. I did not know what the heck this world looked like. And because my previous job experience was in the dental field. I was a dental assistant and had 4 different positions in the office that I was at. Loved the variety, loved being kind of that superhero element in the office and being just a huge communicator between the different fields that I was in. And so when I started exploring the entrepreneurial world, when I had my son, like we were talking about, when I had my son, I quit my job to stay home and raise our son.
Okay.
And that's the best decision I've ever made. One of the hardest decisions in the sense that the decision was easy, but the aftermath was tough. And so I'm sure, as you guys know, when you make a decision to do anything, it's great to say, oh, I'm going to launch a podcast. And then it's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff that comes with that. Right. And so that was one of those moments for me where it was a heartbeat decision where it's like, absolutely, I'm going to be there for my son. And that was something that me and my husband mutually decided together. And I think that's so important for couples to do. But at the same time, I went from working full time to the day he was born to a stay-at-home mom. And I actually had chronic pain and stuff like that. And so anyways, it was a little bit of a mess for me. And when I joined kind of the entrepreneurial space, I didn't know what it was. I was like, I got to reach people and serve people, to focus outside of me because I wasn't in a really good place. I needed to focus again outside of myself to find myself again. And so I turned to the online space and saw that word, entrepreneur. What's that mean? Why is everybody an entrepreneur and doing a million different things? So I started as a virtual teammate on a team for an entrepreneur, and it really just started opening my eyes. And kind of, I got my LLC, made it all official, and then I was just like, you know what, this isn't really what I want to do. And then somebody asked me to coach, Nathan. And so long story short, I know I went all the way around the lake to come back, but at the same time, with that in mind, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. And then I found myself when someone else found me. And they said, you need to be coaching this. Why aren't you sharing? And when I was working as a collaborator, I was more of a consultant without realizing it. You don't know what you don't know. And that's okay. And for people that are listening to this right now, maybe you don't have all your ducks in a row, but you don't know what you don't know. And it's okay. It's okay. And I didn't know it. And they're like, this is what it was actually another coach that came forward. And was like, you know what? I coach on business automations and stuff like that. I don't know how to keep myself all organized. And like, there were other things that they were struggling with. And they're like, you need to be coaching this. And so to have that from somebody else, number one, thank that person till the cows come home. Number two, I had to step it up because I was like, if I'm going to be a coach, how am I going to be serving people in this way. And so it was a huge level up opportunity for me personally. But like I said, there comes aftermath with that. When you serve at a higher level, you have to hold yourself to that standard.
Oh yeah. Well, so I'm loving this because Corey and I, the company we co-founded, is actually called Core Level Clarity. And the concept about it is we help people with the if they only knew, right? Like you're here and sometimes you feel like the best kept secret in the industry and you're doing all these things and you're successful and all this, but there's just like more. And like if they just knew, right? And we kind of help with that and we help get that out. But the core level clarity part is about the blind spots, right? And the obstacles you can't see because of the outside perspective. So as a coach of any age, of course, anytime you can have a perspective, the more different it is, the more value it can add to your situation. And everybody has strengths and unique gifts, right? We were created from pure potential. You've lived a life no one else has lived, which is giving you perspective that no one else has. So I agree with you 100% on that in the coaching. And I love the accidental stumble into entrepreneurship, because some people are like, I've been an entrepreneur since I was born, and some of us are like, I didn't even know until I was an adult that it was a thing. Now that I know it's a thing, like, and for you, it seems like it was born from the intent to stay home with your child and raise your son. And so you have this, what's that?
It was to honor my priorities and serve, what my vision was, right? And that's the same truth for so many entrepreneurs, to do what you set out to do. That's really where it led you.
So I love that. And so then you were invited by a coach to do some coaching on some area that you had a specific skill in business. Is that what it sounded like you were getting to? And what was that skill? Just real quick, what was that skill for us?
Yeah, actually it was really working on the life side and getting their life to be integrated with their business. As entrepreneurs, it's so easy to lose sight of ourselves because we put all our love it's almost like into this child, right? And so then you're just kind of a shadow. And so I was talking about how I was handling stuff and how I was doing stuff for my business, kind of being a single mom, like we talked about earlier, guys, where, my husband isn't always home and kind of got to float the boat until he returns. And so, everyone's got their unique challenges. And so I was sharing that, how I was, creating this integration. And in business, that's a really good word, kind of a harmony between life and business. And they were like, I don't know how to do that. I can coach on all these other things, but I can't do that. Can you show me? Can you do that for me? And so that was something that I was like, you coach on that? Like that's the thing. And well, apparently, and I looked it up. So I started doing research myself and I discovered a million other niches. And I was like, or niches. I don't know which one's the right one, guys. But we all know what we're talking about. And so I was like, wow, that's so amazing. And so that's where I dug deep into my superpower. I didn't realize that other people didn't have that. And so it's kind of that self-awareness and that self-discovery, Nathan, where it's like, yeah, you stumble upon it because you were already doing what you were supposed to be doing. And I had been successful previously. And so then when I totally shift gears, it was like a whole new world. Really?
Well, there's a couple of interesting things there, because you said in the last section we were talking about, thank that person that called you and said, hey, you've got this thing. And that's something I was talking about with my friend Devon. If you guys know Dean Graziosi, I know he's a super, super special person. This is how I know, because when Devon came up to him and was working for him, he was like, hey man, you need to double your fees. You are worth twice as much as whatever you're charging. And it's a rare person that comes to somebody. Most people in the market want to take advantage of somebody's value, and they want to cheapen it, and they want to do it. So it's a rare person. That's what I'm saying. His spirit has to be really good, because he came to him and said, listen, you're worth more, right? And Devon did that same thing for me when I was working for him. Was like, hey man, you are worth more. And when you're working with someone who sees that you're worth more, whether it's in your job, which is the hardest place to find it, or you find people like Corey and I and you know what I mean, to hang out with, that'll bring it out in you, or you find wherever you can find that person that can see the light in you in a way you can't quite see it, because it's already inside of you, right? Like you're alluding to, but it's a self-discovery, but you need someone else to kind of shine that light on it for you.
Well, yeah, and like something we talk about, right, Nathan, is kind of being the superhero in your own movie, right? And it's hard to actually see
Yes.
yourself as that superhero because you got the wires holding you up in the sky and you see the green screen behind you and you know like it's all just part of a set. But everybody else who gets to watch that movie, they get to see your greatness, you know? And so sometimes having that outside perspective, right, is super critical.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so beautiful, you guys. And I love what you were saying. And just that really gratitude really is you know, especially for that individual that came up to me, or like Dean Graziosi. I actually am really familiar with him and I work on his team. But it's one of those things that, you know, when you're inside that box, inside that locked set, kind of like what you guys are talking about, it's not that you're not being aware, but sometimes you just can't see it. And so somebody else told me a butterfly can't see the color on their wings.
Mm,
Mm,
there you go.
I like that one.
Oh, and I didn't know that. I was like, oh my gosh, that just like hit me like a train. I was like, well, gosh, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. So, and I realized that as a coach myself, because I don't give people their gifts and talents. I magnify the gifts and talents that they have and show them how to use them, flex those muscles, and double down on what they are, who they are, and approach that in a way that's not only empowering, but actually allowing them to embrace the fullness of genuinely who they are. And oftentimes they're scared to show because maybe it's something that they don't think is appreciated, you know. And you guys know that from the clear, I mean, like, I'm preaching to the choir at this point. You guys know what I'm talking about. But it's such a powerful moment, isn't it, guys? Like when
Yeah.
that happens and they actually are able to be like, whoa, those are the colors of my wings. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, it
Like how
really,
cool.
and that's the one. I mean, I know for me, that's like one of the best feelings ever is because it's validation, right? We all want validation. We all need that recognition that, hey, we are something other than what we think about ourselves, you know? And so, yeah, it's important. And, you know, kind of in one of our other interviews, we talked about, you know, with one of our guests, like when somebody is down or depressed, you know, what comes first? It's like chicken or egg. Like, is it that they need to believe in themselves or that they need someone else to believe in them first so that they can then believe in themselves? And it's kind of the latter usually is where, you know, when you're down in the dumps or you're not, or not even that, if you just don't necessarily have a good idea of what it is you're trying to do, like you really need that outside perspective to come in and sort of help shift things around. So I love where this is going, but actually I want to get a little bit more granular on you, Justine, and like what, you know, who are you trying to help and who is like,
Yeah.
you know, what is this group of people? Who's your tribe?
Oh, that's such a great question, Corey. Thank you for going back to that. So I am totally on board with my tribe being the people that are about life with a purpose. And oftentimes, like you guys say, they don't know what that purpose is. And so for me, I encourage people to not only start, but I also catch up a lot with entrepreneurs that kind of in the middle. And the reason why they're in the middle is because they've taken that step, like when I was saying, when I started being an entrepreneur and discovering that, you know, not realizing that, whoa, that's a whole new world. There's no consistency, there's no follow-up. And so where I, you know, start people off with a good foundation, I also meet up with people in the middle that just
Mhm.
maybe they grew too fast, or like I said, poured so much love into their business that they forgot about themselves. And we kind of do a reset. We kind of do a, you know, not a demo, but we kind of redo some things. We renovate a little bit in their, you know, in their mindset, in their habits, huge thing in the habits, guys.
Mhm.
And also in just what their vision is, like you said, having clarity on where they're going and how they're going to get there without being burned out. And so the biggest people that I'm trying to support are people in that area that are successful. They're high performance people. They're achievers. They know what they're doing, but they're struggling. They're struggling because the foundation isn't there. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's actually something to be grateful for because you can see it. And now what are you going to do about it? You know,
Mhm.
you're like, I want so much more in my life and business. I don't want to be a slave to what I'm doing. I don't want, you know, how can I? And so for me, I come in and I'm like, you know, let's take it from where you're at. This is not, you know, something to be frustrated with. You know, it's just realizing where you are now and where you want to be. And you had mentioned earlier, Nathan, that, you know, kind of taking a snapshot and appreciating where you're at. You know, how often do we do that? So I encourage that with my clients. And yes, I need to do it more for myself. I'm really good
Mhm.
about doing it with my clients. But when I do it for me, it's one of those moments where, you know, I'm not where I'm at, where I want to be, but I am here. And you need to be proud of where you're at. and realize that you have been making progress. And to keep doing that, what do you need to change or what do you need to keep? And if you're successful in those little micro shifts, you don't have to do a 180-degree pivot. Oftentimes it's the little things that go a long way. And for being kind of a single mom, like I said, I still have a loving, supporting husband. But when he's gone, I don't have accountability. I mean, I have an alarm clock, usually my son, that wakes up, and yeah, that's how life works. But if I don't get myself where I need to be and support, not only my son and my husband, then I'm not going to be able to support my clients. And so that's where showing up for yourself first. I'm huge on self-care, guys. So that's where that comes back to that accountability, and that foundation is really, especially when you're the entrepreneur, showing up for yourself, caring for yourself so that you can be that 100% for your clients, for your business, for whoever needs you. And when we say more, usually that includes our priorities, which is friends and family, faith, if you're working at church, there's so much more in life that we want to do and experience. And usually entrepreneurs are looking for freedom in their time and their finances and all this and that, right? So how are you going to achieve that when you're burned out?
Yeah.
And high achievers, like you said, they're high achievers. They've done something. High achievers, when we go at a task and we go and we attack it and we focus on, and we usually have success in that area, and we find something else and we attack it and we have success. Balance isn't usually a thing that we start with. It's something that a high achiever has to learn throughout life, is this balance of, okay, how do I direct my energy into multiple, and how do I keep that balance? And so I think you're what's that?
I was just going to say, you've had to do that for me quite a few times, but
yeah. And you need some, right. And it's that bearings. It's the, where are we in the journey? Let's pick our head up. Are we going the right direction? Like we like where we came, but now we go in the right direction. And how far did we come? I call it, so one of the things I love doing for people is helping them find their through line, right? Which helps you find your superpower and who you've always been. And it's like you take this golden thread and you put it through checkpoints along the broken road of their life, their journey as an entrepreneur. And you take this golden thread and you put it through these checkpoints. And when you pull it tight, and all this broken road and all the distances, all the different paths, and they all come together through this thread, and you've put this through line through, and they can understand, oh my gosh, I've always been this person. I've always done this thing. I didn't know that I was even doing this, but it's like being able to play connected, it's like paint by number, somebody connecting the dots for you. And you go, oh my God, these dots I've seen in my whole life. And now that I step back, I can see me. And when you can help somebody understand that, it's a powerful, powerful thing. But then comes stepping into that, right, and being that. And so that's where like having a coach, of course, and having somebody who's going to allow you that's going to hold you accountable at these checkpoints to check in and be like, this is where you are, this is where you want to go. What are you doing? Because leveling up to who you really are, leveling up to that next level of you is hard. And you're going to have people that are uncomfortable with your change. People that are trying to hold you back, not consciously, but because you growing makes them uncomfortable. And so you need a support team when you are growing, when you're stepping into that next level of you that is right there, that you're at the precipice of, and you just got to step into it. And the reason you don't sometimes is because the environment around you is not supporting it. And it might be because you need more self-care and you need to support yourself, and you don't know how to do that. Corey helps me with that, right? Because I'm like, Corey's better at the balance. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just everywhere. He's like, let's do some Qui-Gon, let's chill out. I'm like, no. So like you need that, right? And so having that perspective, but having somebody to support you as you level up at each of these checkpoints, and like, I got your back, even if no one else like gets it yet, we see it and we got your back while you get to that level.
Yeah.
Right. That's so huge. And well, it's part of that, part of the intro. Thank you so much for that, Corey. But the other element to who I am and what I'm all about is realizing that, you have to be today the person that you envision 5 or 10 years ahead of you. And I heard that somewhere, and I'm failing to remember where it is. So sorry for being human, guys. But at the same time, I know that that's key, because in order to level up, in order to show up and be, just like Nathan was saying, you have to be more than who you are today, because who you are today was a result of yesterday. So we got to be that next person for tomorrow. So we always have to be taking that next step, but that's usually defined by the person that is about 5 years ahead of us. And so you don't have to compare, like Nathan was saying, you don't have to compare. You don't have to be worried about anybody else. You can keep your head down, keep working, and let your actions speak for themselves.
So this is a great point. Actually, I want to kind of get your take on this, because this is kind of an old thought as well, and I'm sure we've all heard it: fake it till you make it, right?
Oh.
But now there's definitely some negative connotation with that phrase, because there's been a lot of people that just are literally faking it, and they don't actually have any intention of, helping their clients or anything like that. So if you could just dispel that, sort of negativity around there, because I 100% agree, for you to become anything, you have to sort of absorb and embody that person now, right? You have to act as they would act, do what they would do, and et cetera. But maybe you could just shine a light on sort of the separation there. What's the difference?
Oh, that's such a huge question. I absolutely love it. And the reason why is because there's so much, especially when people hear, even for instance, the word entrepreneur. We're talking about that. What does entrepreneur mean? Well, there's entrepreneur fakes and there's entrepreneurs like legits, like wowza. And I'm so excited to be sitting with two of them. And it's one of those things where you guys, you embody everything that, you're doing all the things, you're showing up. And for the people that are scammed and stuff like that, I'm sorry you were hurt. I've been there. And there are rotten people in this world. I'm sorry. I can't change that for you. But you know what? Living with the fact that there are amazing entrepreneurs out there. There are amazing coaches. There are amazing support teams. There are amazing innovators, website builders. Like, those people are out there. But sometimes that we have to go back to their roots, where they might have been, quote unquote, faking it till you make it. And here's why I don't agree with that quote. I think you have to be it till you make it. So totally take the fake it out, because so for instance, when I did my golden thread, Nathan, and I looked back to who I was, I've been coaching people all my life. I never knew I was a coach. I mean, now I look back and I'm like, whoa, I was coaching my friends through that. I was coaching my mom through that. And not saying that to be proud, but that's how I am. That's who I am. And so when you talk about faking it to make it, maybe you don't have social proof yet. Maybe you don't have actual paying clients, and you don't have podcast episodes, which I obviously have all that now. But when I started, I didn't have that. And so I had to remember who I was all about. And I pretty much had a blessing, basically, because my first client fell into my lap. So that was kind of easy. But at the same time, not everybody has that. And so if you are in that position and you're struggling with that mindset of, I have to fake it till I make it, and I don't know what they're going to think. Okay, take a second. If you know how to build websites, you know how to build websites. You're not faking it. Now, if you need to, come forward and someone's like, well, how many other people have you worked with? You can be like, I've been working on websites for 2 or 3 years. It's been awesome. If you haven't been, be honest with them and be like, but you know what? I know I can bring you the results. Sometimes being the underdog is kind of an advantage. And so don't fake it. Don't fake it. Be like, hey, you're my first client, actually, and I would love to do this for free just to show you how awesome I am and make amazing results for your business. Do you know how much rapport that is going to build with that other person? And when you provide boom results, you're going to take them through the roof, and they're going to be like, oh, how can I hire you? How can I get an affiliate? How can I refer you? What do I get for that? People are going to want to know what they can do for you. And that's also a result of the bad people. So just realize that sometimes the bad people actually help us out. So negative can have a positive result. And so when people are like, oh, there's nothing good in the negative. Oh, no, not even close. There's so much, because it actually gives you the power back. It gives you the power back. And even if you're starting off, like I said, don't worry about faking it. Just be that person to the point where they're like, whoa, you haven't had paying clients? How did you get to be so great without paying clients?
How can I send you money?
Yeah,
exactly. The dream words, Corey, the dream words.
Yeah.
How can I pay you? How can
Right.
I pay you? What's your payment link? And that does happen, guys. It does happen. I can speak to that because you're just already that person. You don't have to fake it. You are it. You are it till you make it. And you're going to be making it your whole life because you're always chasing that next level. So you realize it's not going to be like, oh, this day I'm actually going to make it. Because when you make 6 figures, you're going to want 7 figures. And when you make 7 figures, you're going to want 8 figures. And that's just, I'm not saying it's all about money, but I'm just saying it's a really good way to look at it in the sense that you're always going to be shooting for the next star. You're always going to be doing that.
Yeah, and what you're saying is right, is see where that is, see that mountain that you're going to, and who am I gonna have to be able to climb that mountain? Because you're so far back in this journey, and you're looking like when my brother-in-law went to Alaska, he was training for months, getting physically ready for the person he needed to be to make that trek. Now, once you get to Alaska and you go for 3 weeks, a month, whatever he was there, and you're living off the land in your pack, you become something different in that journey, but you were preparing to be that person. You didn't, when he got to Alaska, he wasn't faking it, that he had some survival skills. He got some skills, but he hadn't actually been in this environment and done this thing, but he was preparing for it. So it's when you're looking for it, who do I need to be? Like, I got these things that I want to achieve. Who do I need to be worthy of those goals, right? Of achieving those goals. And now from here, what do I need to do right now to step into being that person? That's not faking it until you make it. Sometimes you have to find your confidence from wherever you have to find it, right? If you have to act your way through it, if you have to listen, when I do flooring, I'm doing a job right now at World of Coca-Cola, the main entrance, and it's the hardest job I've ever done. And I've never done anything like it before on this scale. And I'm terrified, but I know I'm going to do it. Right. And so because I've done a ton of these jobs, and I'm always trying to expand what I'm capable of. Right. So I'm always, if you were growing as a rising entrepreneur, you're always on the verge of something new. You're always on the verge of something greater. That next level is always something uncomfortable that requires you to step into a new level. You're not faking that until you make it. You say, okay, I see that I'm capable of this new level from where I'm at. And I know that it lines up with who I want to be 5-10 years from now. And so I'm going to consciously take that step into that person. And
Yeah. And Justine, I love your perspective too, because the way you're talking about things, it's really fresh, right? Like everything is an opportunity, everything. And even the negativity in our lives, right? And a lot of times people just, I think, bringing it back to what we were talking about earlier, where we kind of get lost in what we're doing, right? And it's real easy to get your head down. I know I got this work to do. This is what I'm working on this week, this month, whatever. Like, these are my goals. And we just get lost. And it's important not to get lost, but also to see opportunity in everything, because there's going to be good times. There's going to be bad times, right? There's going to be great clients and there's going to be terrible clients, but there's always an opportunity to learn something. There's always an opportunity to grow or to step into, sometimes, and this is something that Nathan and I work with sometimes, is when we feel resistance towards something, like that is the perfect indication that this is an area in which we need to grow, right? We need to step back, realize what's going on. Why are we feeling this resistance? What is it about this situation that is trying to tell us? Like, what is this thing trying to teach us? And if you can stay open to that, I think just the sky is the limit, right?
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. That's so impactful what you just said there, Corey. The fact that you actually need to be chasing the things that you fear oftentimes.
Yep.
For so many people going live, being on camera, so many people putting their voice out there, in a podcast or in, whatever, their audiobook, so many times it's just whatever is that resistance, oftentimes that's your breakthrough. It's your breakthrough. And to have that moment and to be in that place where you're helping other people, like, there are no words when you see them just bloom and just be like, oh my gosh, they did it. Like, it's like it's more than a win for you. You're like, just so, and as a coach and as a leader, and you don't even have to be a coach. Like I say, as a leader, when you help your team, when you help your family, when you help anybody do something that they were afraid of, that's just like one of the most amazing things that ever can happen.
100%.
So I wanted to jump back because we were talking about the fake it till you make it and the people that give it a bad name, right? People that say they can do something when they can't. And they are part of the reason that it's so hard to actually help people, right? Because we're sitting here talking about how we want to help people and how we can help people, how we have helped people. And there's all these other people that we want to help, right? Rising Entrepreneur, you know what I'm talking about. There's all these people you want to help. And the thing is, whenever somebody's had their heart broken, right, they start building, they put that brick up, they start building that wall. And by the time we get to be adults, that wall has become a castle, right? I call it the castle of critical doubt. And every time somebody, like approaches that wall and starts bombarding it, sometimes you let them in and you get let down. You're like, dang, you build that wall higher, you build that castle bigger. And so when you are trying to help people, you need to understand that this wall that they've built isn't their fault. We all do it. It's our defense mechanism. Every time we're wronged or every time we're let down, we add to it. And so when you're talking to people, you have to show them the stories of how you can help. If you haven't helped anybody else, you need to explain what it's going to be like, what your intent in their life is, so that they can let down the door for you, right? So that, because you got to get them, if you want to be able to help them, you got to get in that castle to where they are, right? And so I just want to let you know that out there is if you're struggling and people don't understand how much you're trying to help, it's not your fault, but it's 100% your responsibility. You have to overcome all the slights, all the things that they've had to go through, all the people that have done them wrong. You have to let them know why and how you're different and how you're going to make the solution better and simpler and easier so they can actually achieve the thing that they want. And it's just something that people are up against. I like to bring it to light because that's what you have to do if you really actually want to help people.
Well, and that's so amazing, Nathan, how you frame that. And I love using metaphors. So your metaphor just totally resonates with me with that castle and the fact that I need the drawbridge down in order to cross the moat and actually gain access to who they are at the core, which is really what we need for any form of transformation. And so I guess the biggest thing for me has always been making sure that they can see how much I care, because they don't care until they know that I do. And there's a saying, I don't know how to say it, I totally botched it, but at the same time, that's the core of the message. They don't care until they know you care.
Yeah, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah. Thank you, Nathan. Yes, you got me. You got me. And so it's one of those things that it's so important not only to have social proof or to be taking action, but to create that know, like, and trust factor. And how are you doing that? How are you creating that experience for them? And it could be with anyone. And maybe they won't be a buyer. Maybe they won't be a client, but at the same time, their mom might be, their friend might be. So they might be the first bridge that leads you there, because you don't know where the castle is. Maybe you're in the forest and they're like, hey, I got a castle over here. I need you to come and help me out. That could be the moment too. And so it's one of those things that when you're being that person, like Corey and I were talking about, you're already being that person, and you just are. You don't have to put on a facade. You don't have to fake anything. You don't have to. So that's where I talk so heavily on self-development and acknowledging that individual that you are and embracing that person with unapologetically. Because, you're going to resonate with different people. Some people might find me intimidating. I don't know why. I'm only 5 feet tall. But at the same time, if I'm going to a different level and they're not ready to come, that's okay. There's going to be people on that level that need me to get them to the next one. Mm-hmm. And so don't ever count yourself out. Don't ever. And like Corey was saying, there's always an opportunity. Look at life, as a whole, just openly, and be ready to receive. Because if you build a wall, nobody's going to get through your wall. Because if we're not actually leaving a gate open, there are risks you take with that. I'm not saying there aren't, because like Corey said, sometimes good client, sometimes bad client. Right. And maybe it just wasn't a good connection. Something happened. I'm not calling people bad, but there are not the greatest people out there too.
There's definitely some bad eggs out there, but we'll shine them up.
I like that, Corey.
We'll make them polish. But yes. But Nathan, let's go ahead and jump into the other section.
Yes.
Wisdom from my boy over here.
Yeah, so one of the things that we are doing in season 2 is called Perils and Pearls. And so basically on the broken road that you've traveled to become a rising entrepreneur, from having no idea what an entrepreneur is to coaching other entrepreneurs in lifestyle and balance, you've traveled part of the journey that no one else has traveled. And you've come across perils that we haven't seen yet, and in going through them, you've collected pearls of wisdom that can either help somebody avoid that peril or get through it quicker. And so we want to know, so far in your journey, what's the biggest peril that you've stumbled into, and what's the pearl that got you out?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think the biggest peril is actually.
Say it one more time because it was quiet.
Sorry, the biggest peril I have experienced, is the one that I experienced in my own head.
Mm.
It wasn't anyone else. It was nobody else's fault. Taking full accountability of the fact that I was not believing that I could actually be someone worth paying, someone that would be sought out, someone that would be coveted as a coach, where it's like, oh my gosh, she doesn't have any time, her schedule's packed. Like I had no self-belief. I had no esteem to what I could actually do. And that was also the moment when I hired a coach. And I was like, I know I've got 2 wolves going on in here, and I'm trying to feed this my good one, the one that says, you can do this, you got this, you have results, you have all the things. Why are you looking at this guy over here? And the growling and the fight just began. And so that's where I had to allow someone to show me what it looked like outside myself, get outside that box. And that was probably the biggest pearl that I achieved or overcame, in the sense that I had to win the battle inside first. If you don't win inside, you're never going to win outside. You won't. You won't.
I love that. I love that. That's powerful. And truth is our biggest obstacles, our biggest perils are always going to be the ones in our mind, right? And that mindset, of course, find someone who can help you. That's what a coach is for, right? Help somebody that can help you get through that thing. And that's the practical advice, right? Like that's one way to do it. You've got to address the pearls. You have to address the mindset, and until you can't get out of that peril until you address that particular mindset. There's a million different ways to do it, and one of the best and fastest ways to do it is to get a coach, because it's somebody who knows how to take you through this particular experience that you're struggling with. Right. And so thank you.
Here's the interesting thing too with that. You mentioned these 2 wolves, and it's pretty, we have these voices, like whatever you want to call them. There's definitely these opposing ideas going on internally, right? And leading into that personal development space, it's all actually coming from your ego, right? This wolf that's snarling and growling, that is your ego telling you, you're not good enough. You can't do this, whatever. Let's stay comfortable. Let's do the things that we know how to do, blah, 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 blah. And then when it comes to like actually reaching out and getting a coach for help, that's also your ego is going to keep you from doing that, right? It's going to say, you don't need help. You can figure this out on yourself, on your own. And, like you can do this by yourself, right? And so I think mindset really boils down to overcoming your ego and being able to allow yourself to grow in spite of those false narratives that we're telling ourselves, right? These stories, these identities, these beliefs that we built up over time. We have to be able to separate ourselves from that and understand that, yes, this may be a part of me, but that is not me, right? That's not who I am. And so in order for me to grow, I need to be able to separate that, move that aside, and then move forward in my journey. And yeah, getting a coach really is the fastest way to get from point A to point B, because they've done it and they've gone through the road. They've seen the perils, and they picked up the pearls along the way. And now they can help you get there without having to skin your knees along the way and get all muddy and bruised and bloody, So it's a tough thing to do though, right? To be able to separate yourself from your ego, because that is, for most people, that's, our identity is what we protect, right? Our identity is what makes us who we are, at least in terms of this, society that we live in. So it's a tough thing to do, but when you can overcome that, again, sky is the limit, right?
And you have to overcome it, right?
Have
Because
to.
you have to become the person that can actually scale that mountain at the end of your journey. You can't pretend on that. You know what I mean? And so your ego, and yes, your ego is like, no, we got it. And you're like, you know what I mean? And you're like, no,
Clearly you don't got it, bro.
Yeah, we don't because your ego is so funny. You said your ego is both, right? Your ego is like, your ego's like, no, you don't got it, but you got everything. You know how easy it's gonna be when we get to that mountain, and then you're gonna get to the bottom of the mountain, and the ego's gonna be like, yo, like, why didn't you let us get ready for this?
Yeah, what?
Like, you weren't even prepared, dude. We can't do this. That was dumb. Let's just turn around and go back. And that's the game your ego is playing to keep you safe. Is we don't need to become something new or better or bigger outside of you're enough. Just be settled for you're good enough. Don't worry about that. And then when you get to the challenge, like, nah, you're not good enough. You're not. Let's not even try this, because if you go try this, you know how hard it's gonna actually be, and it's not gonna be comfortable. We're gonna have to become something different. And your ego's like, nah, let's just turn back. And so yeah, it's an interesting battle of you want that ego to become something new or release it altogether, but it seems to come back. So so how do we level up that ego? I don't know, just really interesting analogies there.
Well, and I was going to go back real quick just to the fact that, if you're the superhero in your own movie, superheroes usually have a double somewhere. Yeah. And you can't, every superhero probably has, that support system, has somebody else that's a wingman, there's always two. Why is there two? It's because even the superheroes need support.
Absolutely.
They need super support. And so if you're trying to go, superheroes could probably handle it all the way to the end, because I think all of us are superheroes. I really do. Yeah. But like you asked, Corey, the key is, how are you going to get there faster? How are you going to get there without, losing precious time? Because that's our most expensive currency. How are you going to get there without, further scars that could be avoided? And that's the essence of what it is. Because you could do it. I'm sure you could. Mm-hmm. I know you could. But if you're questioning yourself and you've already kind of accepted that you're willing to let your ego go, just like Corey said, then actually sometimes I think it takes a stronger person to ask for help.
I think we're going to have to steal that super support, because that's pretty awesome.
Like, we got
definitely going to be hooking people up with super
thing
support.
Going, so we're going to be borrowing that one.
Sounds good. I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, you can't, it's kind of idiotic to think that you can figure everything out yourself. There's, especially with the internet, there's no reason to not learn from other people's experience, other people's mistakes, and that's actually the beauty too, is hiring a coach is the fastest way, because that's one-on-one help, right? But you can just leverage the internet and the content that's out there and actually, get coaching from all of these people that are constantly putting out content, right? And, what's the book, Nathan? Was it Think and Grow Rich, where he has his mental mind mastermind, Yeah,
that's Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. Right. And so like, you can actually, if your imagination works for you, you can pretend that you are sitting down with, your favorite person or your biggest idol or whatever in terms of business or whatever it is you're working in, right? If you watch enough of their content, you read enough of their books, you learn to think like they think. Like, you can actually imagine and embody them to a degree and get wisdom from that place, and actually have coaching, so to speak, from these people who have done it and who have gone through the experience. And there's no reason to have to dredge through everything yourself. That's just idiotic, in my opinion.
It depends where you are on the journey, right? For some of us, you've got zero money and you got all kinds of time. Go ahead and go through all the free stuff online and figure out how to do it yourself. But if you're making a little bit of money, then time becomes, or you're a parent or whatever, time becomes more precious, right? And if time is your thing, then seek the person who knows how to do the thing, because like you can learn it. It's there. Like Justine said, you can make it through. Like I believe in you too. I know you can make it through, but how many scratches, how many scars are you going to get when you get to the battle? Like, how are you ready? Are you prepared to go to war, or have you wore yourself out on the journey to get there? You know what I mean? Like, how many troops are lost on the way because you went the slow route of learning how to do the thing. I mean, sometimes that's the path you need to take to go where you're going. But if you know exactly where you're going and you just got that, you get to this ravine and you're like, how do I get to the other side? You can go look up all the different ways. You can go back to this spot and get a new map, or you can be like, hey, go to one of the locals and be like, hey, we need to get there. How do you guys do it all the time? And let them show you. And so that might cost you some money. You might have to trade some of your goods. You might have to give up something that you thought you were going to have in the journey. But guess what? If that same part of the journey takes you 6 days instead of 6 hours, that food that you had to trade was going to be diminished anyway, right? Your resources get diminished the longer you're on the journey. So you have to look at, do I want to get through this quickly, or do I want to learn because I see that there's an advantage to going through this the hard way? I know that I need to get tough in this area because this is what I love. This is what I do. This is what I'm passionate about learning about. This thing over here, I'm not really passionate about learning about it. And I don't necessarily want to get all the cuts and scars of going through learning this. And so let me find somebody in this area.
I love it. So let's go ahead and switch gears real quick. Justine, you are the expert when it comes to, balancing lifestyle with business. This is what you're helping people with. So I want to get tactical and practical with you. When it comes to habits and routines, right? And getting really managing our time, what are some strategies that you could share with the listeners right now that can maybe help them in their balance of what they're trying to do?
Absolutely. That's such a good question, Corey. Thank you for that. So the first thing I really try to identify with the individuals, what kind of schedule or routine is going to work for you? Because you're probably not the same as me. If you don't have a child, you're probably not going to want to do early mornings and late nights. You're probably going to work a solid day. And, what does the day look like for you? And so I also like to encourage people to maximize the actual time in their set, because people work more efficiently for 6 hours versus 10 hours. Giving yourself less time and kind of fighting that. So I'm a very competitive person. I love sports. I love all that stuff. So I love beating my own goals. And some people don't work like that. But if they identify with that, then for me, it's like set a goal that's competitive for yourself, where it just challenges you to grow, but it actually has the potential for you to achieve. And so I try to do it more one-on-one, because that's where you really get to connect with what that individual needs, because they're coming from someone else. But if you were to do it alone, these are the couple of strategies that I would love to share with you. Break down the things that are your priorities. Do you say your prayers? Do you meditate? Do you read, a couple of books? Break down what you want in your schedule and find ways to start small. Start with one habit, add the next one, add the next one. And, if you're not able to do it all, don't let yourself get out of kilter because you didn't get your full morning routine. And some people like to have 2-hour-long morning routines. I don't have time for that. And so it's one of those things that, not that I don't want it, but I have to be able to accept where I'm at, kind of like Nathan and I were talking about earlier. So where are you at? Can you take 15 minutes, 2 minutes of meditation, 2 minutes of prayers, and, you got 10 minutes to read a book that's going to spark some, good food for your mindset. That it could be as simple as that. And don't compare your morning routine. Don't compare your schedule to anybody else, because what works for them doesn't necessarily work for you. The next tip is use timers, guys. Use timers, like I said. Find, if you're going to be blocking your schedule, which is also actually another tip. If you block your schedule and you're like, I'm going to spend Mondays on marketing, Tuesdays is on interviews for the podcast, Wednesdays is working on the course that we're creating, whatever the case is, create timers that allow yourself to expand in that time, but also when that timer's done, take a break. You know how you restart your computer, refresh? You got to do that with your brain. Get some water. I love seeing Nathan chugging just like I am over here. I drink so much water, but guys, you need to take care of yourself and cycle a step back to self-care. So take a break, stretch your legs, do 10 push-ups. I don't care, but do something to reset and reattack, because you're going to be refreshed and you're going to come right back at it. If you want to change the subject, great. But if you're in a mindset and you're like, I'm just doing marketing, then do what floats your boat. That's perfect. That's perfect. I'm not going to be here to judge you and say, oh, no, this is going to work better. That's not my job. That's not my job. You know you. You do you.
I love that. That's awesome. So you mentioned a couple of things. One specifically, you said kind of like gamify your goals, right? And sort of like make it a challenge against yourself. And I really like that idea. And that's something I definitely do with myself. It's funny, just yesterday I was editing some videos and like I hit a timer and I started editing a video and then, okay, that took me 30 minutes. All right, I got to do the next one in less time. You know, I hit the nut timer and did another one. It's like, oh, 28 minutes. All right, sweet. We're cutting some off, you know? But I wanted to share a story, actually. My grandfather, this is where I learned this from. So my grandfather used to work, like, you know, way back in the day. He used to work in a factory where they would stamp metal parts for cars or something like that. Like the most boring job, right? Because all you're doing is literally like put a piece of material in, push a button, the machine stamps it, and you put it over here. Put the material in, push the button. I mean, come on, right? That stuff is done by robots nowadays. But back then, you know, my grandpa was sitting there pushing the button. And he told me about how, you know, this being like the most boring job he's ever had, he had to find a way to make it interesting, right? And he had to find a way to try to actually enjoy being there. So he would gamify his job, and he's like, all right, I'm going to race myself every day. He would race himself to see how many pieces he could get stamped that day, you know, and then the next day he would try to beat that. A, naturally, he became one of the best employees on the floor. And then B, it's just like he actually enjoyed his time while he was doing the thing that he had to do, right? So you're getting better results if you do that, and you actually enjoy what you're doing a little bit more. And what's funny too is when you challenge yourself that way, you find interesting solutions that you would have never found otherwise, you know, because it's like, all right, if I just have to shave off a half a second here, what is something maybe I could do a little bit differently? And that causes your mind to think in a creative way that you just never would have approached any other way. So I love that idea.
Hey, can I jump in on that real quick?
All of that.
Can I
Yeah,
jump
for
in on that?
sure.
Yeah, because that was brilliant, and then there's just in the back of my mind it rotates back, is that a task expands or contracts to fill the space of time allowed.
That too.
So right, and so Justine said get a timer, Pomodoro timing. You can go to Toggle and it's free. There's different, but a Pomodoro timer that'll give you that a 20-minute or a 25-minute cycle. But the idea of, sorry, brain fart, totally lost what I said in the beginning. I was gonna elaborate and then it's gone. So
it happens.
That was such a good point there, Nathan. It's truly, you know, if you give yourself a full day, it's going to take you the whole day to do something. Whereas if you gave yourself an hour, which is really what you need when you're totally focused, undistracted, like, and just in your power mode, why would you waste your time on that? So it's one of those things where half of the freedom that people seek is just truly doubling down on what they're doing and being present in the moment, not worrying about the phone. Not like, I have no notifications right now because I'm totally here. If I was half divided, I might be thinking, oh, that client needs something. Oh, that's gone. You can't, you're setting yourself up for failure when you do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
100%.
I agree. That was it, Corey. You talked about shaving off 30 seconds, right? And for whatever reason, I was thinking, but then and you get creativity, but what's really interesting is you say, okay, I did that one in 30. Can I do one in 15? What would it take for me to get this done in half of the time?
Right.
And then that sparks whole new levels of creativity, because it's like, I don't just need to shave a couple of seconds. I need to read, and you don't do that all the time. But sometimes you go, okay, let me just challenge myself and see if I can reinvent my process, if I can do something different. Just another way to gamify.
For sure. Like setting an absurd goal almost, right? And actually, one quick thing I just want to talk about, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. But like, you just said something that sparked a reminder in me, which is Elon Musk, right? We all know Elon Musk, crazy inventor, innovator, right? He literally puts everything that he does through the filter of, will it help me create sustainable life on Mars? Like, that's literally his frame, right? That is his framework. You ask him a question, it always goes back to, okay, is this going to actually help me build a community on Mars? Like, that's his ultimate life goal, is that he wants, humans to be living on Mars. And when you think about the stuff that he's done in his life here, right? His short 50 years or however old the dude is, but like, I mean, it's just bananas. Like, but we all have the same time, right? We all have the same 24-hour days. We all have the same 7-day weeks. Why is this guy so much more productive and so much more active than almost everyone else? It's because his goal is absolutely absurd. He's trying to put humans on Mars, right? And so whether or not he reaches that goal is yet to be determined, but everything that he's doing is going through that lens, and, that always pushes him, creates creativity, creates odd solutions, right? I mean, you've seen what
And
we've
tells him what to
gotten from this guy so far, so who knows what's to come. But what was that,
and
Nate?
tells him what to say no to.
Exactly.
Right. That was
too.
an interesting, like, to me, I'm
Yep.
hearing that. It's like, cause we're always talking about that through line, right? And when you know, like, okay, well, this help me get people, it's big, it's hairy, it's audacious, right? You get your BHAG, and then you're going, but then if I'm actually going to achieve this, I need to make sure everything fits into my through line. Nope, doesn't. Sorry, I can't solve that problem. Yes, I could probably solve that problem for you in 32 minutes because I'm Elon Musk, but I don't have 32 minutes for you because it doesn't fit into my thing, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, dang, that's going to take me 32 years. Sorry, it's not getting us on Mars. I don't care. And so knowing what your thing is allows you to easily deflect because as people, as rising entrepreneurs, we want to serve people. We want to give more. We want to help more. That's the driver of why we give so much of our time, effort, and energy and expertise away for free, right? To get clients. We want to help. And so we get drawn into helping everywhere. And sometimes we're helping where we don't need to be helping.
Right.
And so having that big, hairy, audacious goal, that through line, that thing that you're measuring. I mean, I love that, Corey. That's so valuable on both levels. It's going to stretch you to get there further. And it's also going to deflect the things that get in your way. That's awesome.
So real quick, I just want to recap, Justine, what you said for everybody listening. So we talked about self-awareness, right? Find the schedule that's going to work for you. I love that. And then you talked about really like less time and more efficiency, and again, this kind of talks about what can we say no to? How can we prioritize our goals? Gamifying your goals is a super great strategy for just, being competitive and motivating yourself to actually do the thing and then also get better results. You talked about, slowly adding in routines, right? You don't have to do everything all at once. I love that. Do not compare yourself to others. That is such a good piece of advice. Because as soon as you start doing that, you instantly become less, right? You're always looking at how I'm not good enough. So don't even start that. Use timers and tools to help you out. There's all kinds of free resources and stuff out there. And block your schedule, like batch processing, do some stuff this day, some stuff the next day. If you're doing everything every day, then you kind of lose interest in everything. And then finally, take time for yourself to reset and then turn around and reattack. So I just wanted to sum that up. I really appreciate that advice, Justine. And so for everyone listening that is interested in getting in touch with you and learning more about your coaching, like where can they find you? Where can they see what you got going on?
No, I love the recap, Corey. So awesome. It's just been such a great opportunity to catch up and share this with your audience. So thank you so much for that. I would love for you to engage with me on social media. I'm super active on Facebook and TikTok. So you can find me at username Justine Mader HQ. And you'll find me at Instagram, LinkedIn, all the stuff. It's all the same username. So whatever platform suits you, you'll find me. And I can't wait to share my website as soon as it's up and running. So you'll see that on any of the social media links, and we'll be excited to meet.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for coming on the show and really just sharing your experience and wisdom with us. Definitely appreciate your time and your energy too. I mean, it's really refreshing to have somebody who's got such a good energy and just, is so open with their knowledge and their skills. It's awesome. So I really appreciate it.
Real and authentic. And the authenticity of who you are comes through, and that's always appreciated. You can't fake it. So you make it with authenticity, right? And so we appreciate you bringing that to the table.
Thank you so much, guys. Such an honor. You guys take care.
Definitely. All right, we'll catch you on the next one.
Can we ask you the final question? You need to ask.
Yeah.
Let's do. I got. Can we do that? Do we have 3 minutes?
Yeah. Sorry. Do you have a couple minutes? You got to jump off, Justine.
I do have to jump off, but let me just message.
No. It's okay. I don't want to mess up your schedule.
I'm here. I'm present.
All right. Sorry about that. I was trying to wrap it up for the for the hour, but this conversation was just too good. We couldn't stop talking.
Unless you've been dropping such good pearls, I wanted to get that last one. That you.
So the final question, Justine, is if you were, if you were able to sit down with yourself, like the version of yourself, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and you had 2 minutes or 20 seconds or whatever to actually share a pearl of wisdom with yourself from that time in the past, what is something that you would share with yourself?
That's such a good question. Wow. I would share with myself probably the same thing that's going to plague me from now until I die. The fact that I am capable of my greatest dreams. I am showing up. I am consistent. and I don't know what the future holds. I can dream, I can show up in vision, but truly it's going to be greater than my wildest dreams, I believe. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know that. So when those moments are dark, to remember that and to share that with other people, that we don't know what it's all going to hold. But if you're showing up authentic, consistent, being that person, there's no way that you won't succeed. There's nothing that can hold you back.
I love that. That's the best motivation. And I think, you know, it's so true. It's just tough to see sometimes. So we all need that. Definitely appreciate that, Justine.
Thank you so much, guys. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Nathan. You know, you never know. Sometimes it's just like one more question, one more this. And so, no, I'm just so grateful to have met you, Nathan, for the first time. And Corey, just to spend some good time with you guys. So please let me know if you guys ever need anything. You guys are just operating on the highest level. I love it so much. So don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll see you guys again soon.
All right, Justine. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Stay blessed.